All right, welcome everybody in on episode 14, live music. Yeah, if you're like us, man, you love it. And one of my all-time favorite things is Jazz Fest, all right? In New Orleans, they've announced the lineup. Foo Fighters are in. We will go through some of the highlights and we'll share some memories from Jason and I going the last, 25 years?
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I had to add. Fucking way to ad-lib. What a piece of shit.
They don't call him the best color man in the business for nothing.
It's also 4th of July weekend to celebrate the birthday of America. But you know what? We're going to blow right on past that and celebrate our good friends to the north, the Canadians. July 1st is Canada Day, so we're going to give our top 5 favorite Canadian bands of all time. And then we're going to dissect a little bit of that Kiss documentary that just came out on A&E.
And somehow we start talking about cameras and we get off topic as we always do. And we bring up back in the day when you needed a guy to develop your saltier pictures. We'll finish with some final thoughts that if you watch this silly podcast on our YouTube page, it may just melt your eyeballs. You've been warned.
You're in for a treat is the way I would put it, Rod. You're in for a goddamn treat. Let's go. It's time. Put on the pants. All right, here we go. Episode 14. Rod, I can't believe we're on episode 14. We haven't murdered each other yet. Of course, we haven't been in the same room yet either. So Rod Ryan sitting there on one side of your screen, Jason Ginty here on the other. If you are watching us on YouTube, if you're listening, well, we're right down the middle. That's how this works, man. Rod, it's good to see you not in the basement this week. I like your background this week. No lazy boy or nothing like that, dude.
I couldn't get it on. I tried to bring it to the airport. I'm like, can I bring this on I tried to bring it on the plane, that big, velour, velvety thing. And they're like, no, get that thing out of here. So no, I couldn't bring it. It's in my mom's basement for a while.
Dude, so many people this week I've spent more time this week talking about lazy boys and salt than I've ever talked about in my life. Dude, the fucking lazy boy. Like, everyone's like, yeah, dude, I got one, but like, I'm not allowed to have it like, in the family room anymore. It's in the garage. Like lazy boys somehow, I don't know if they're as popular as they used to be back in the day, man. It's fucking all I've been talking about lazy boys all week.
But there was a lot of love, and this is all stuff to get you to go and listen to the last podcast, episode 13. A lot of ceiling fan love. So we weren't alone on that.
Yeah.
Dudes love ceiling fans. We learned that. And a couple of people said that they were looking forward to doing some garage beers. Now, they said they were going to send some pictures, and nobody sent any hashtag garage beer pictures. But I did get a great email, and I wanted to share it. And you can always email us through social. You can hit us up, on the direct messages. But Emily sent me an email, just rod@thebuzz.com. She's here, I think. She's from El Campo, longtime listener, now a faithful podcast listener. I listen every Thursday on my way home from work, which is good. It's a 1-hour drive to El Campo. So you and Jason make the drive much more entertaining. I've loved hearing about how you guys met, how y'all have gotten there from here. I would love to hear maybe some more stuff about the wives and the kids. Of course, this is a chick emailing. She wants some more mushy shit. So if you can maybe muster up some mushy shit, Jason.
See what I do.
I would love to hear how excited you guys are for live music and what concerts you're looking to attend. And this is perfect. She said her and her boyfriend are kicking off the concert season. They're coming to BuzzFest, which is going to be on September 4th. And there are some tickets available. Ticketmaster.com, New Orleans, come on over. That's you, Jason, as well.
I didn't get my tickets yet, buddy. Good friend.
Her and her boyfriend, their first show is going to be BuzzFest in the Pit. And then Corn Stained, Coheed and Cambria, Jeez. 10 Years, and Theory of a Dead Man, nice. Knotfest, Alice Cooper. Those are all the tickets she has right now.
Jesus.
Who's missing live music more than Emily? Nobody.
That's intense. That's a lot of music, man. That's a lot of good song, good music too, man.
She kind of sounds new to it too. She said her first concert was Shinedown 2 years ago in the Pit. It was amazing, and that's the moment I knew that I loved this. And there's no place that I'd rather be than live music in the Pit, sweating our balls off and rocking out. What's better than love and live music? Am I right? So such a fan of the Rod Ryan Show. Love hearing about everyone and keeping up with your lives. So Emily Brown, thank you so much.
It's awesome,
just the fact that people are actually listening to this. I was so excited, and it's unbelievable how much I talk about Jazz Fest to my Houston audience here, and everyone knows that's my favorite thing. Jason, you probably have a number off the top of your head how many years now you've been. I only missed 1 year. I missed 2 years, actually. But we got to be in that 25, 26 year range, huh, for Jazz Fest attending?
I've never missed a year except for last year when they canceled it. I've been every year for 25 years. This would have been my 25th year or whatever it was, So I've never missed it since 1996 when I moved to New Orleans, man. I've never missed a Jazz Fest.
That was our first one.
Yeah, the first one was weird because we were broadcasting, working the radio station, and we were fairly new to the area still. We didn't know shit about much. I mean, by this point, we'd been on the air with the N for 6 or 7 months. So I go out and I'm ready to set up a broadcast from Jazz Fest. We're an alternative rock station. And if you don't know what Jazz Fest is, I'm like, why are we going to Jazz Fest, dude? We don't play jazz. That sounds kind of silly. I mean, I know we're in New Orleans, but that seems weird. It's fine. You're going to love it. Okay. It's what the community does. All right. Go out there. And it was me and Shannon was bringing all the gear and stuff through a horse track. If you've never been to Jazz Fest, it's literally at the fairgrounds in New Orleans where the horses race. And the track is made of dirt. Dude, the second we start to drag the gear out of the van, the skies open up. And, New Orleans, It rains pretty hard and brutal. We stood in like 4 feet of water for like 6 hours. And finally, the program director's like, get your ass out of there. We're not doing the broadcast. They shut it down. I'm like, well, Jazz Fest kind of sucks. All I did was get soaked and muddy. The next day, go back, do the broadcast. I fell in love with it. I've never missed it. I've gone multiple days, every weekend, both weekends, every year. We've been there 10, 15 different times together, seen amazing music.
Yeah.
Forgot most of it because of the amount of beers we drank. Swear to God, I could have bought a car with all the beer money I've spent over the years.
Our first Jazz Fest, because the Nevilles always play, so they always close out the second. Back then, they always would close out the second Sunday.
Right.
But I want to say the Doobie Brothers.
It's probably something because they weren't getting as good a lineup as they got now. The last 10 years has got better.
And James Taylor, just because our sales director, Greg, shout out to Greg Benefield. He was such a huge James Taylor fan. And I want to say James Taylor played maybe that first time. But let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit because it's rescheduled. So it never happened last year. And the Foo Fighters were going to be a part of the lineup. It was going to be the Foo Fighters and the Who on Saturday and Sunday. It was going to be the best weekend. Foo and the Who. It was going to be phenomenal because I've never seen the Who.
Oh, they're great.
So we've talked about me speaking with Dave Grohl, and I tried to get in a quick question to ask him if he was going to come back when Jazz Fest announced, the redo. And he kind of led me to believe that he was. Well, they finally came out with the lineup this week, and Foo Fighters are playing. So weekend number 1 starts on October 8th. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 8, 9, and 10. Dead and Company. So my buddy Marshall back home, he's been blowing me up. He's going to come into Jazz Fest for the very first time. That's why he's coming in, Dead and Company. So it's a couple of guys from the Grateful Dead. It is. And then it's John Mayer, I believe, playing guitar and probably singing. Okay.
At least he was been in it, and I've seen the pictures. Don't quote me exactly. I probably should have looked that up before I said something stupid, but too late. I already said something stupid. But John Mayer plays it. Now, what's interesting is they're the ultimate headliner for Jazz Fest. They're the first band billed over the Foo Fighters. Do you read the concert? This is what another friend of mine said. When he reads the concert lineup, and you guys all know what a concert poster looks like. And there's bigger font for the headliners. And then it gets to medium, and then it gets to teeny tiny. And then, you're just lucky to be, the DJ awesome, DJ Dead Air, is down on the last line. You can barely read it. It reads like an eye chart when you go get an eye exam. Right. Do you read Dead and Company, Foo Fighters, Lizzo? Do you read that as Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? No, they just got to. He claims that there is a little voodoo to that. Really? Yes. And I didn't go research it, but somebody out there maybe has the time. Go look at when they did the announcement posters. He said he reads them across, and he said it's almost dead on. You just go Dead and Company Friday, Foo Saturday, Lizzo Sunday, Black Crowes Friday, Demi Lovato,
Saturday, Brandi Carlile Sunday. Now, why are we talking in these terms? Because all they've released right now, because they want you to buy a weekend pass.
Right.
They want you to go all 3 days. They don't want you to buy the day that the Foo Fighters are playing. Or if you're just a huge Grateful Dead fan, they don't want you to buy that one day right now. And it's the concert industry, and I'm not bagging on them for it. They've done this way for years. First, they'll release, the total lineup. Then a week later, usually they give you, okay, here's the 2 weekends, but they won't do the day breakouts.
That'll come in probably, September.
Right. So if you're looking to go just one day, you're going to have to wait to buy your tickets. The only tickets you can buy right now are weekend passes. But that's going to be something interesting. And maybe somebody listening has a little insight to reading these posters. I mean,
I've never.
If the Foo Fighters are Saturday night, that works out well for me because I'm coming in from out of town. And obviously, I want to fly in. I want to have a good time on Friday. I don't know if I would make it. Even if I go to Jazz Fest one day, I like going 2 days. I really do. I like going 2 when I come in for a weekend. But if I do have to come in for one day, I need the Foo Fighters, obviously, to play on Saturday.
Usually that's the case. They put the big heavy rock band, and I say heavy, I just mean the more modern rock band, heavyweight on that Saturday, because they know what it means. They know what it means to get out there and blow the place up a lot of times. The first weekend really is the great weekend as far as I look at it from the lineup. We were talking about, what was it, last episode or the one before? I never pay attention. We were talking about 90s. And we're talking about Melissa Etheridge, right?
She was on my list of female singers.
She's playing Jazz Fest. And we, the game we played for years, Rod and I have anyway, out there is, let's see, they got this great lineup. Who can they get next year? Who's never played Jazz Fest? We've been playing that game for 20 years, right? Yep. And it's gotten to the point now where either no one else is alive or everyone's played it. It gets harder every year to pick out that person. I've always said, and maybe she's played before. I don't remember her playing. I'm sure she has.
She must have played Jazz Fest. I mean,
I've never seen her. I'm excited about seeing Melissa Etheridge, man. That's gonna be
she
cool
can wail. That second weekend. That's on second weekend. You know what I thought was an interesting, because I invented the radio game, the Chris Isaak game. Chris Isaak's playing first weekend.
I didn't even see that. Is he really?
No, he's fall in love.
He's great, man. He's a hell of a singer. Hell of a weird warbly voice and everything.
Second weekend, I called it Stevie Nicks. Yeah, Jimmy Buffett. Her, who's amazing. She really is amazing. I saw her at something where she was jamming the guitar and singing, and she blew me away. But the Beach Boys.
No, fuck that. No.
What?
Nope.
No Beach
Boys? No, it is the Beach. They call themselves the Beach Boys. It's fucking Mike Love and a bunch of dudes.
Well,
but no, the Beach Boys is not Mike Love. Mike Love's an asshole. Mike Love's not. You're going to get all your fucking songs, but man, you need to see, what the hell's his name now? Can't think of his name. You think I would have come up with his name before I fucking said something stupid?
You're not going to see Brian Wilson. Jazz Fest.
Well, when I did actually a couple of years ago, they brought out Brian and Mike Love and they reunited, and it was fucking great, man. Brian Wilson's, that's the Beach Boys. This shit is going to be some cover. What? It's like going to see Journey now.
Is John Stamos going to play drums?
Probably. You know what? You say that, but probably. But no one who is just an average everyday fan is going to give a shit. You're going to be out there drunk on Coors Lights, and you're going to be fucking watching the Beach Boys with 80,000 friends.
I mean, dude, listen, we don't have time to unpack this right now, but that's a thing right now. That is a thing. There are bands that are touring with the logo and no original members in the band. And I'll tell you one off the top of my head, Foreigner.
Yeah, there's nobody left of that band.
Foreigner. There's the keyboard player, his name escapes me. Nick Rhodes. No, not Nick Rhodes. I don't know.
The keyboard from Foreigner. How are you not supposed to know that? Come on.
Yeah, I should know it.
You should know. But
Someone's screaming or pounding on their steering wheel right now. He kind of, I think, owns everything.
I got you.
And he pops into some shows here and there. But if you go to a casino and they will use the logo of Foreigner, and they don't have to say shit about it. They just say Foreigner's playing. You buy your tickets, and I don't think 90% of the audience cares.
No.
There's not one original member. There's not one original member if that keyboard player doesn't show up. My friend Mark, who's been a great listener of the podcast, Mark Petrocelli, shout out to him. So he's the drum tech for Foghat. The drummer is the only original member. Foghat is known for that Foghat Live album.
Right.
That was the one that sold. That was the one that got on all their hits on the radio. And the drummer is keeping that going. And he can. He's got all guys in there. They're all great. They look age appropriate. He doesn't have young kids in the band.
Yeah, that's bad.
So, he's got guys that are late 40s, 50s, but they look good. But they're, the drummer is 70 and he's keeping it going, and he can use the logo. You don't have to say anything. Quiet Riot may go out and continue to play. Okay. Frankie Banali passed away. The original drummer, and he was the one that was keeping the name going.
He was the only one. He's the one. He was their manager. Like Quiet Riot played in New Orleans years ago. I get a call. Hey man, it's Frankie from Quiet Riot. And can you book an interview? And I said, sure. Who am I going to talk to? And he goes, me. And I go, well, who are you? He goes, Frankie Banali from Quiet Riot. I go, holy shit, I'm talking to you right now. And I love Quiet Riot, dude. I'm fucking talking to him. And he's the guy booking the bands. He was the guy that held it all together.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to go off on that tangent because you mentioned the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
That's a thing. That's a thing that's happening. And, I know we're going to talk about the Kiss documentary later on. Kiss is another one of these bands, dude. My prediction, and we'll get into it on this podcast, I predict the Kid plays bass and Paul's son takes on the Star Child makeup, and that's how they sell it.
I'm cool with that.
They're both musicians. They're both musicians. So you would have a Stanley and a Simmons in the band for another 30 years. And you got guys that are already dressing up as Ace and Peter that have been doing it for 20 some years.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that later. So Jazz Fest, it's my favorite thing in the world to do. I don't get paid to endorse it. I know how much Jason loves it. I come in every single year. I've been gone from New Orleans for 18, but Jason and I went to that first one together in 96, and maybe I've missed 2. It's absolutely my favorite thing in the world to do. And I don't care who's playing, but when the Foo Fighters are playing, boy, does it make it just a little better.
It makes it extra sweeter. And here's a weird point. If you've been to Jazz Fest, and if you're not, well, then who gives a shit about what we're talking about? But you should definitely check it out once, because it is an amazing, completely different festival experience than what you're probably used to. But here's something I'm going to throw at you, Rod. Being a fan of the festival, the music is always great. The other thing about the festival is all the food. Okay. It's October. How are you going to do crawfish bread? How are you going to do crawfish Monica? How are you going to do all the crawfish stuff? It's out of season in the fall. So, how do we, all my favorite things to eat, because that's what you do, man. You spend your money on so much food.
You're right. Crawfish bread, crawfish Monica is the pasta.
There's crawfish.
They can get tails. They can get tails in for that stuff. So, but you won't be peeling eating crawfish, and that does happen at Jazz Fest when it's in the spring. That they may have to farm out some frozen tails. I don't know how they do any of that.
What are you talking about? This is Louisiana, man. And I heard Quint Davis, who puts on Jazz Fest, he said, man, he goes, we got our shit really tight right now because we got to produce Jazz Fest this fall, and we're already working on next spring's lineup. It's going to be bam, bam, because it normally happens in the springtime every year. Yeah. Last weekend in April, first weekend in May, he's like, we're going to get this thing rolling. We're already working on next year. It's like, well, the good thing is, it sucked missing one, but now we're going to get 2 in 6 months. So I'm like, fuck, that's great. We are. That part's kind of cool. So live music, man, I can't wait. I haven't seen anybody yet.
Mick Jones, keyboard player, original founding member of Foreigner.
He actually, not to go farther off onto a tangent, because this is just going to be the whole fucking episode, I think, buddy. Mick Jones, if I've got this wrong, I'll eat shit for it, but he's a hell of a producer. Isn't he the one who helped produce? Didn't he produce albums for Van Halen? Mick Jones. Maybe I got that wrong.
Foreigner? No. Ted Templeman?
Yeah, but he worked with those guys, and he helped. I'm going to look it up.
Okay.
I don't know.
But they got a guy that sounds like Lou Gramm. It's not Lou Gramm. that's all you would really know. You need that guy that sounds like it, the lead singer. That's why Journey is so successful, because the guy, that Parnell guy, he really does sound great. And you know what? The original singer can't hit those notes anymore. So I don't think people care as much as we do. They just want to see. You don't want to, but you shouldn't be paying a premium.
No, that's horseshit. You're saying a cover band. You're saying a cover band, man. Yeah,
you should not be paying a premium. And that's where they don't have to say anything. You don't have to list the ingredients when a band plays, you know?
Well, and think about it. A band like Foreigner, and I'm not slighting Foreigner, but how many people know what those dudes look like anyway? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of bands that can get away with it because nobody knows who the fuck they look like anyway. Originally, you don't know. You know, you can't. You know, you do it with Journey. You know, you knew who Steve Perry was, but Journey did such a great job with his replacement that they kept going. Mick Jones produced the 5150 album for Van Halen in 1986.
No shit.
Yeah. In fact, I remember it now. He actually was the one. Think about that 5150 album. That was the first one with Sammy Hagar.
Right.
He went in there and Sammy tells these great stories about how Mick Jones just made him work his balls off to hit higher notes. And Sammy has said that Mick Jones brought his voice out to a whole nother level for that album. Because there's a lot of high parts and shit that Sammy didn't normally sing. Mick Jones was the guy responsible for bringing out that sound, the vocals for Sammy Hagar. There you go. I was right.
When I said no shit, I wasn't excited or impressed. I was just saying that looks like you don't have to eat shit. I was kind of bummed out. That would have brought in some podcast numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true.
Will you allow me? Stick with New Orleans, stay with me, something a little sooner. It's not really music related, but I do have to get it out there. Dude, I got an email. Red Dress Run is happening.
Yeah, I just got it too. Apparently I signed up years ago and I get their emails. I went, oh, fuck. In August, right?
Second Saturday in August, Red Dress Run. Dudes, chicks, everybody's wearing red dresses. You don't have to run. It's Mardi Gras-esque as far as the quarter being packed.
Oh, it's wild.
And it's just a sea of red. It's so much fun. Jason and I will have to dig up some pictures and we'll have to add those to social because I think we should be promoting a few of these things. It's just a really, really fun thing. And it kind of comes up every now and then on my radio show here. And White Linen Night, and this is for both audiences now, the Saturday before that, Saturday, August 7th, White Linen Night is happening in New Orleans. And it does happen here where I live in the Heights.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, there's a couple that moved after Katrina. They moved into the Heights neighborhood where I live, in the part of Houston that I live. And they've been doing it for years, dude. White Linen Night's actually a pretty damn big deal here. And I just got word that this is happening. It didn't happen last year.
No, nothing did. What's really cool about New Orleans, though, is you got your White Linen Night. And that's, the way a lot of people look at it here is that's where all the wealthy people get on their white linens and they go up to all the art galleries, which is a blast. I love going too. But then a week later, we have what's called Dirty Linen Night. Dirty Linen Night.
That's the night of Red Dress Run, isn't it?
It's the same fucking night as Red Dress. So it's a shit show because you got people drinking from all morning, day drinking all day in their dresses. And then you get all the fringe who are still stumbling around in the evening. And then the Dirty Linen crowd comes out and goes up and down Royal Street in the
But explain what that means. Tell everybody what Dirty Linen means.
Dirty Linen basically means what you're supposed to do. And it was, the highbrow crowd was White Linen Night. That was all up in the warehouse district at those galleries. Dirty Linen Night is taking all your shitty linen that you maybe spilled wine and shit on and then going down and hanging with the fools and the riffraff in the quarter up and down Royal Street and looking at all those art galleries. It's a lot looser. It's way more fun.
You're re-wearing what you wore the week before.
Dirty
chances
linen.
are there's a little red wine and, like you said, stains, and they're not quite as clean. And people go out and they wear their unwashed linens from the week before, and it's Dirty Linen Night. It's kind of a fun thing. White Linen Night. It's 20th Street here in the Heights. I think that's like where it kind of where everybody goes. But dude, I'm one street over. I'm on 7th. White Oak is 6th. There's like 5 or 6 bars. It's packed, dude.
Oh, I bet it's great.
Dude, I can walk in 5 minutes and be there in White Linen. We only did it once because I haven't lived in this house very long. But yeah, so that we covered some good dates, and it kind of all got started because Emily sent that email and she wanted to know if we were excited about live music. Not only am I excited about live music, I'm just excited about live events. I'm excited to go to things like Red Dress Run, which, I definitely already primed the pump with my wife. That's her birthday weekend, and thank God she loves it. So hopefully we're going to be coming in for that. And then White Linen Night. I'm excited about all of this stuff. I'm excited about life getting back.
Yeah.
Even last week, I did the podcast from my mom's house. I hadn't hugged my mom in 15, 16 months. My kid is only 3 years old, and she hadn't touched my child, held my child, hugged her half of her 15 months. So she's a completely different child,
Right. She can talk.
I didn't know how, and it was, I didn't know how it was going to be.
Right.
So, and it was great. It was great being home. It was shitty flying. There's a lot of people flying out there. They're packed. I think they're running the airlines a little bit more efficient. There's not as many flights.
Right.
But the days of seeing an open seat on a plane are just, that hasn't been around in a long time. But let me tell you, we're never, ever going to see even one seat open on a plane for the rest of our lives. Never.
Efficiency is good. I mean, I think we could do a whole podcast on what has changed in the last year. And will we come out of this thing on the other side smarter for it? Will we have learned a few things? I think there's a lot that can be said about shit that we've learned. But yeah, I'm excited about getting outside. I went out over this past weekend and was out with a wife celebrating her wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
How many years? 17?
17 years. Yeah. Someone puts up with this for 17 years, dude. She's fucking crazy, obviously. Anyway, went out to dinner. First time I've been out to a real dinner in 15, 16 months or whatever it's been, right? And it was weird. I was like looking around at people, and it was like it just felt weird, man. It just, you got to get that first one under your belt, I think.
Weird, but good though, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was great, and we had fun. It was a little bit frustrating at times because, you go from a bar to a bar to a bar, and people just don't have enough help. So you're used to in New Orleans, the service industry is great here. I mean, people will get you in, get you your drink, get your shit done. I mean, that's what we're known for. Our service industry is badass. It was frustrating. It was just frustrating because there's just not enough people to help do everything right now. So it was weird. We had a blast, but it was just the whole experience was just weird.
It's going to change. It's going to take, does it go back to the way that it was? I don't know. I mean, not everybody can pay restaurant employees $15 an hour. I'm telling you, as a bar owner, I can't pay my people $15 an hour. The margins of money, I'm not making any money right now. So
right, you can't.
So you want me to pay people even more? I right now I'm not making zero money. We're right there at zero. It's just right there. So paying people a little bit more and trying to offer some things to make it a little bit more excited and be more flexible about working there. But I'm just going to be honest with you. This might turn a few people off, man. I can't pay my people $15 an hour to work at the bar, at the restaurant. I just can't do it.
I don't know
how you pay a dishwasher $15 an hour.
How can you? I mean, it's, there's limits to job pay. There's just limits.
Cooks are washing dishes and there's no more. I mean, radio's been this way forever. Nobody wears one hat any longer. We've used that phrase for
my entire career.
The last 15. Yeah, I know. But really in the last 15 years, there's been that's not my job. That phrase doesn't exist.
It shouldn't.
And I don't have to tell restaurant people, they're doing their business, but I imagine they're being asked to do more and more and more. I did it for a long, long time. And there was always a list of side duties that you had to do. Cooks had their things. Okay, well, on Tuesdays we do this. On Wednesday, I imagine there's even more of that going on right now.
Absolutely. And you have to, because you don't have enough people. In fact, there's this thing that I was just reading about earlier today. It might be good, it might be bad. If you want to work, okay? If you want to work and go out and get a job, there's this thing called the Great Resignation that's going to be happening in the next 6 to 8 months that I've been reading about. I read Forbes today. I didn't even know that magazine. I never knew about it. I just thought it was rich guys read that shit. I know, what a weirdo, right? There's this thing called the Great Resignation where a lot of people over the last 15 months, right? For people who've been working at home, okay? You worked in an office, now you've been working at home. You've gotten used to being around for your kids, having lunch with your kids, doing all these things, having time to work out because you're at your house. You're not going anywhere else anyway.
Yeah, that doesn't pay though, man.
But if you're working from home and you've got the job, you're doing it, right? Now all these offices want you to come back to work. And people are like, well, wait a minute, dude. I've been doing this job for 15 months and I've been efficient and it's been working. So why the hell would I give up my cool lifestyle that I've adapted to and still done my job? And you want me to come back in the office? No. So there's going to be a lot of people who are going to have these companies are going to be, come on back to work now. And people are going to be like, fuck you now. And they're going to go find a new job. And there's going to be this thing called the Great Resignation happening. A lot of people are going to be quitting and moving jobs. It's going to be wild the next 6 months to a year.
I see help wanted signs everywhere. Every restaurant needs help. I mean, there's not one restaurant. I can't even imagine a restaurant, even in New Orleans. I can't imagine.
Everywhere.
You could walk in and get a job today. You just walk in, boom. You could probably be waiting on a table within 20 minutes. Okay. If you're wearing the right clothes.
Yeah. If you want to work,
you
can get a damn job right now. In fact, a lot of employers, you might be able to sneak your way into a job you might not deserve too. And because a lot of employers are desperate. So just a little point out there. Rod, we have to take a break, dude.
Yeah. So 4th of July weekend is coming up. As we record this on Wednesday night, we're getting ready to go into a holiday weekend here. So I was thinking of a top 5 and, I threw a couple things, Jason and I, we do throw some ideas back. I know it sounds like we have no prep ready to go for this, but we do throw some things back and forth. And I'm thinking 4th of July. I'm like, okay, man, we could do top 5 fireworks. Jason's like, nah. We could do like top 5 things on the grill. Nah. And Jason's like, nah, that's really not where my headspace is at right now. I'm like, okay, well, what about top 5 like 4th of July foods? You're like, nah, it's okay. I go, what about just side dishes? We can go like potato salad, watermelon. He's like, nah, it's okay. And then I'm like, I'm out of shit. This guy's like turning me down. Everything I'm throwing at him. And then I go to him, Thursday, the 1st is Canada Day.
Yeah.
I go, what about top Canadian bands? He goes, that one.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Canada going into America's birthday weekend. You want to do a top 5 list about Canada.
Why not? Why not? Dude, we're trying to, you know what? There's what is there? We looked up the stats before we even started this silly podcast. There's a million podcasts that you could listen to. Are they going to do anything about? No, they're not going to do Canada, dude. We're going to do Canada. They're all doing 4th of July shit. We're
top
doing
5
Canada.
Americans.
Dude,
top 5.
I think I sent
pies.
You top 5 patriotic movies. And then I was like, well, that's kind of silly. We've done the movie thing to death. We got to branch out a little bit more.
The absolute last thing I send this idiot is Canada Day. And he's like, that one.
Yeah, let's do that.
The one we got to do. All right. We're going to go through our top. And you know how this, if you listen to this, it's our personal favorites. That's what gets us off the hook. Okay. I'm telling you right now, Neil fucking Young is not on my list. Okay. I can't stand his voice. He's never going to be in my top anything. Okay. Right. He's probably on all kinds of the greatest Canadian artists of all time list. Ain't going to be on mine. We'll get into it. We'll find out what's going on. Let me talk about the partying and let me continue to talk about the great city of New Orleans that I love so much. So plan that road trip. You heard me just talk about what? Red Dress Run. You heard me talk about White Linen Night. You know what goes on during all of this stuff? There's some pirates giving tours during all of this stuff. Jazz Fest. Go to New Orleans, my friends. I'm telling you, the airports, get in there, get in. It's a quick 55-minute flight Southwest to get to New Orleans. And when you do, make sure Pirates of the Quarter walking tour. Put it on your must-do list, even if you're just going in for a day or two. Okay, you can go and hang out with some real pirates. You're walking around. You're getting real history. And this is for real. History of what happened in the quarter. Pirates traded, they drank, they partied, they pirated, they did all that stuff in the French Quarter. And the Pirates of the Quarter, the walking tour, they know it all. They're going to take you to actual places where things happened, okay? So don't wait to book your tour. They're filling up for summer. Get all the details at piratesofthequarter.com. Links on the Play Pants podcast page, YouTube page. It's an award-winning tour. This podcast comes out on Thursday, July 1st.
Holy shit, it's July already. Jesus.
It's Canada Day. Jason Ginty thought it would be a good idea. Now, Jason and I grew up right there on the Canadian border. So I was just at Niagara Falls. The border's not open yet. We couldn't get over to Canada.
That's the better side anyway.
They still,
the Canada side is so great.
Ask my wife that question. That the Canadian side is where all the pictures and the postcards are taken of the falls.
Right.
The American side, you get to stand next to the power.
That's true.
Of the water. And the park is beautiful. Goat Island and the park, the Niagara Falls American side, the park is amazing. You're walking by the rapids.
Yeah, scary.
The postcard photograph comes from the Canadian side looking at us.
Right.
So, it's very tough. It's a flip of a coin. My wife likes the American side better. She likes being right next to that power and the water. It's pretty amazing.
There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. That power is so brutal. And, the reason I like this whole top 5 favorite Canadian bands is that I think we talked about this in one of the earlier episodes, is that growing up outside of Buffalo, New York, man, we had the greatest situation there, at least in my mind, is we had all the American rock radio stations, and then we were getting all the Canadian rock radio stations. You could go and up and down the dial, there was at least 5, 6, maybe 7 buttons you could push on your radio, and all of them was some form of a rock station up and down the dial growing up.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's a completely
Unreal.
Separate market because it's a completely separate country,
right?
But it's only 25 minutes away or give or take. I mean, from my mom's house, 15 minutes. And they've got to have all of their own stations there in Canada. Right. So there was a lot of duplication. There was the Buffalo Alternative. They were even called The Edge, where Jason and I worked. We worked at The Edge. CFNY in Toronto was The Edge for years before that. When they came in and changed the rock station, the Fox, to The Edge, how Jason and I got our jobs, we're like, what the fuck? I listen to The Edge in Canada. What, you want to call this station The Edge? They're like, shut up. We know what we're doing. I'm like, okay. It's still called The Edge to this day. It's still around. So they knew what they were doing. But you're right. We were very, very fortunate. We got Canadian television. Mm-hmm. That means when I was a kid, I get it. It's not a big deal now because you can get shit on demand and it's everywhere. But I got 2 hours of wrestling on Saturday morning. I got Maple Leaf Wrestling, where me and my brother are just beating the shit out of each other, watching Canadian wrestlers. Mm-hmm. And then we watched WWF. Yep. And I mean, for 2 hours, because it was, wrestling was 1 hour a week on Saturday morning. That was it. We got 2 hours. So lots of curling too.
A lot of curling, a lot of hockey. I grew up with Hockey Night in Canada. That was great. I mean, when you grow up up north, man, you either play hockey or you love hockey. There's no two ways about it. You have to love hockey.
They kick you out because I can't bowl or skate. So that's why I had to get out of it.
Right. And then Canadian radio had, they still do, they have a Canadian content rule. They've got to play, I forget what the percentage is. It's like 60 or 70% Canadian artists on their radio stations, for better or for worse. So they can't just play whatever they want. They have to have X number of Canadian artists on every radio station. That's good for us because we got to discover a shit ton of great Canadian bands that nobody knows about. That nobody really knows about. Nobody's ever heard. And the list goes on forever. And that exposed us. I don't expose me to a shit ton of bands that I talk to people down here in the South. They're like, who? What? Huh? What? I'm like, you don't know who that is? Holy shit. What, don't you listen to music? Don't you have ears? Yeah, it's because they never broke south of the border. A lot of Canadian bands never crept down into the United States. Rush obviously did. And, Rod's favorite, Neil Young, obviously did. Justin Bieber did. Nickelback. Bryan Adams. I mean, people did, but there's so many bands that just got stuck at the border and they weren't allowed down here for whatever reason, man.
Yeah, they just didn't make it. I can't wait. I'm going to let you go first. You were so excited about doing this list on a scale of difficulty. For me, 10 being the war movies. I thought the war movies. I struggled with I struggle with these top fives more than I think because I do put in my time. Yeah, I argue with. I'm putting weight on bands, and I'm like, okay, well, this is a 6. This is a 5.5. Fuck. Why don't we do a top 6? Let's be different.
Because it makes it too easy.
This was kind of easy for me.
this was weird because I started looking up because, I can't, I got to do some research. I'm like going through my CDs behind me and I'm looking at shit. I'm like, what do I got from? Oh yeah, I forgot about those guys. Oh, I forgot about them. When I went through the band, I was like, well, I know 3 that I love. And then the other ones were hard because you got a lot of great, like we just went down the laundry list, man. You got Bryan Adams, who, he's not just a one-hit wonder. He's got a lot of the great songs.
Yep.
You got Nickelback. They have hits, dude. They are huge, but they're not on my list.
Huge, dude. They're huge.
They're huge, but they're not on my list. I'm not sitting around listening to Nickelback. I put it number 5, and this is interesting because I haven't really given much thought for a few years, but then all of a sudden I was like, the more I thought about it, I was like, fuck yeah. The Bare Naked Ladies are a fucking cool, badass band.
Boom.
They had the big hit there. What is it? Late 90s, 1 week, Chickadee China and all that shit in the song that everybody knows. Yeah. That was just one hit, dude. If you go to Buffalo, they would sell out the 17,000 seater, the Odd back then all the time. They were huge in Buffalo. A lot of the Canadian bands made it to Buffalo and they never went farther south. Now Bare Naked Ladies broke through.
So I want to say you were done. I was still at community college doing the metal show. And because I think I had one more semester or something like that. Mm-hmm. And we started playing the Bare Naked Ladies on our college station off of their demo. They won a contest with the radio station that I'm talking about, CFNY,
right?
The Edge in Toronto. Which at the time was the best sounding radio station in North America, just because they were playing so much different music. But they won they're a contest winning band.
I didn't know that.
That's how they got started. I believe CFNY. Yeah. And we were playing stuff off of their demo. So If I Had $1 Million was on that demo.
Yes,
the stuff that you heard on Gordon, the first album, there was about, I think 4 of the songs that made it onto Gordon were on that first demo, and we were playing them all on the college station.
And they're such a fun band live. And actually, weird story. They were playing New Orleans, and I got them doing like one of those acoustic sets, and it was just a 3-piece because one dude had some coke issues and he got kicked out of the band there.
Ed Robertson.
No, Ed's in it still. He's a skinny guy with the dark hair. It's the chubby guy.
Fucking wail his ass off. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's the one that got kicked out. Anyway, I had Ed and then like the bass player and then another guy, and the 3 of them stood around a microphone and did like 6 songs, and it was badass. I got to ride around. Ed flies airplanes. Ed's a pilot, and he was telling me this story where one time he was coming in for a landing, and you know how you get like those big drainage ditches sometimes in the middle of streets, like between like an interstate. You got that big wide. He had to land a plane on that shit one time.
Jesus,
I'm like, dude. What the hell? Why don't you just stick to singing? He's like, because flying planes is cool. I'm like, and they were so freaking cool. So Bare Naked Ladies, number 5 of my top 5.
Stephen Page.
God, what a voice that guy has. He was great in that band too, man.
Voice. But, I'm telling you, he's got one of those voices when you hear me just blather on about Chris Cornell. Stephen Page, up until right now, I never would have put him on like one of my favorite singers, but holy shit. That guy's voice is next level. He can do operatic singing if he has to.
Yep.
And he's a goofball and he goofs around about it. And he's singing in the middle of a Bare Naked Ladies show. He's singing the Titanic, My Heart Will Go On. And he's hitting Celine Dion notes. He's a man.
And he's laughing about it. He's laughing about it. And that's the thing about that band that's fun is when you see them live, they're just goofballs. Just the goofiest dudes.
All right,
Bare Naked Ladies.
5 for you.
Number 4, I put down this great band that we actually helped break in Buffalo, New York, was this band. Well, I don't know if we helped break, but we played the shit out of them on their first album called Naveed, Our Lady Peace, at number 4. What a band. What, Rain, is that how you say? Rain Maida?
Rain Maida.
The singer. Fucking, what a cool dude. I got to interview him. I know you interviewed him probably a bunch of times. I did. And nice guys and just a great live band. His voice is some people don't like it. It's unique.
It's weird.
It's warbly. It's weird. But it's cool when it fits the songs that he sings. You know what I mean? Like it just fits. It works. But it's not for everybody. But Our Lady Peace at number 4. They're great.
Canadian singers are weird, man. If somebody says like, you guys talk about Canada, but the singers are weird. I can't argue with you. There's some hokey shit that was happening for a while. And go look up Moxie Fruvis. I mean, there was some goofball stuff that was going on and some weird voices for sure.
Yeah, there was a lot of the, but I love that band. I still love that band. Number 3, and I'll probably get beat up by our Buffalo friends for this, but Tragically Hip. At number 3, that's why I'll get beat up. Not because they're on the list, because they're fucking great. And the late Gord Downie, one of my favorite dancers of all time. I mean, forget it.
Jason
Tragically Hip. Fucking
does
so great.
Jason's a really shitty dancer. I'll just be honest with you right now.
Really bad.
I can talk like this. But Jason can do Gord Downie stage moves. It's so funny to me. It looks like a drunk guy doing karaoke, and it's
great.
It's one of my favorite things. It's my only favorite thing that you do.
I know the list is short, I guess, right?
But it is good though. It is funny as shit.
And I remember going to like the Odd or the big venues in Buffalo to see the Tragically Hip, and you're like, fuck, I'm sitting up in the nosebleeds. Then one time they're playing the House of Blues in New Orleans, which is like 900 people. And I went and I sat 10 rows or stood 10 feet from the band. And I'm like, now this is how you see it. Send those Canadian bands down south where they can't play the big venues. I get to get up close to my favorite artist. It's a win-win for me, man. So I saw the Tragically Hip play in New Orleans a couple times. And I don't know how they broke through.
And one of their big songs is New Orleans is Sinking.
Correct. So they're an amazing band. If you don't know who they are, man, you've got to get to listen to these bands. Number 2, Rush. I didn't become a Rush fan until much later. I didn't give a shit. It was too, I don't know, too drummy. If that's a thing, it just was too much.
Friend off. I quit the show. When was the last time I quit the podcast? It's been weeks since I quit. I'm quitting. Too drummy. Fucking A. How have I known this guy this long?
It's a bit too drummy. I knew that would get you. I've been waiting for fucking 6 hours. I was sitting on that all day.
For me, it's a little drummy.
I even wrote it down in my notes. I put too drummy just to piss Rod off.
I'll fucking punch you when I see you.
So I didn't appreciate Rush back in the day. I was like, I like them. They were fine. It wasn't until the last probably 15 years where I really got into them a lot more. I got to see them here in New Orleans as well.
Jiggle your microphone just a little bit.
What happened? Did I fall apart?
You're good. You're good. Well, I heard every word you said.
All right. So I didn't see Rush. When I saw them live, I was like, holy shit. That took the whole experience to a whole nother level. Then I became super fan. I went out, got all their albums. Now it's not too drummy. I'm probably the only person in the history of words that ever called Rush too drummy.
Yeah. And that's why this is probably the last podcast. And I'm waiting for your next one.
Too drummy. Holy shit. Even when I say it, I go, what an asshole. My favorite band in the whole wide world is this band called the Tea Party. They are out of Ontario. They are great. I brought them up. I don't know when we're talking about guitarists. Jeff Martin's a singer and the guitarist, and they somehow were able to figure out how to mix world music and rock, and it's both, and it's fucking great.
He sounds a little Jim Morrison-y. Can I say that?
Deep baritone voice.
Okay.
What's great about him is he can play the guitar like a rock star. Like, he's great, but then he can also fucking sing. He's got both. So in the band is just powerful live. It's 3 dudes. It's for 3 fucking dudes. And again, another interesting example is they never really made it south of Buffalo. They never could get past the fucking border, and they should have, because they had a lot of songs that would have worked, and it just didn't happen. I was going to fly to Buffalo when they did a tour, and they were going to play like the big venue. I'm like, fuck. I end up getting lucky, and I looked at their whole itinerary, and this is maybe a helpful hint to anyone who doesn't get to see their band in their own city, or they play a huge venue. They ended up playing the Roxy in LA. Small little fucking club, right? The Roxy's right next door to
legendary, but tiny. I mean,
the Rainbow.
The Rainbow. Well, Rainbow is like a restaurant.
Yeah, but it's right next door.
Correct. But the Roxy, the Troubadour I walked in, tiny. The Viper Room. The Viper Room's the tiniest. It's. I'm like, I played clubs like that when I was in high school.
Yeah. So these guys end up playing out there, and I'm like, well, fuck. Why would I fly to Buffalo to sit there with 8,000 people when I can go to the Roxy and sit there with 500 people? Fuck yeah, I went to LA, dude. So keep that in mind next time you're going to go see your favorite band. Go to a city where maybe they're not super popular. Go see them in a smaller venue, man. And that's my top 5 Canadian bands. Man, and now that I'm talking about it, there's like 10 other ones that I like. I don't love, but I like. So I want to hear yours so then I can go, oh yeah. And if anyone's too drummy, I'll be sure to let you know.
So I wrote down too drummy, and then right underneath that I wrote too dummy. Just I'll keep that for later.
Too drummy. Oh, I'm gonna eat shit for that for sure.
Too dummy.
Wow, too drummy.
So there's a lot of bleed over, out of order stuff. Jason and I, you can tell if you listen, there's a lot of similarities just because we've known each other for such a long time that I never understood how much you liked the Tea Party and why I didn't get it. I never really got it. I wouldn't have them. I don't think I would put them in my top 20 of Canadian bands. They probably would make it in there somewhere around 22. Just because I love so much. I mean, I've been listening to Canadian music like you our whole lives. So there's a lot of older stuff too. But my top 5 in at number 5, Bare Naked Ladies.
What?
One of the best concert experiences of my life. I shared with you guys something that happened to me with Jared Leto on the last podcast.
Right.
The other greatest thing, and this probably should be better because I'm in front of my home crowd. I went back home and the Bare Naked Ladies were playing. So we went and got tickets. Opening for the Bare Naked Ladies was Cowboy Mouth.
Right.
So we know Fred pretty well. Fred LeBlanc from Cowboy Mouth. He's the singer. He's the drummer. He's the powerhouse. He is the gospel choir leader when you go see Cowboy Mouth. And I told him that I was going to be in town for the show. He's like, you got to come up. You got to come up on stage. I'm like, oh gosh, you're kidding me. He goes, you got to come up on stage and play the drums on Drummer Man. Shit. So we worked it out. We arranged it. And it was so amazing. Fred LeBlanc, Cowboy Mouth, opening up for Bare Naked Ladies in Buffalo. And he's like, hey, I want to bring out a guy. You may remember him. And I was only maybe a couple of years removed from being on the air. So
it wasn't very long.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, we got a guy here that we stole from you from the radio station. And he's kicking ass in New Orleans now. And he's back in town. And I want to bring him out. He's a good friend, Mr. Rod Ryan. And, you know, 2 people knew. And I go up to Fred's drums and I'm looking at, this was already, I think, the new arena.
Yeah, it was a brand new one. Yeah.
Okay, it was brand new. But I'm standing there where, you know, I've seen bands. I'm standing on that stage and it's not fully packed yet. They're an opening band. But I got to stand there and I didn't sit down at the kit, but I got to play the floor tom and I got to play for the whole song and be right next to Fred and that energy as he's singing. And I'm looking out and I'm like, I'm on stage with Cowboy Mouth in my hometown before the Bare Naked Ladies show, which was a sold out show. So there was a good amount of people there as the opener, but that was another one of those just unbelievable concert experiences. You know, you don't get into this job that we've been doing for so long and ever think anything like that's ever going to happen in your life.
No, of course not. I was there. I watched it. I said, we somehow, what the hell were we doing in Buffalo at the same time?
It wasn't your kid's christening. What did we go back for?
I don't know. I'm sure it was something. I don't know. Who knows? But we ended up back there a few different times. And we went to the show and you're like, dude, I'm going up with Fred. I'm like, what the fuck? That's crazy, dude. You come back and I remember you sitting down and your fucking hands are shaking. You're like,
oh my God.
You're like, I go, how'd it go? He goes, fuck if I know. I don't know. How did it look? I go, it looked fine. I mean, you were up there. It was fucked up the whole show, but you know, you can't let your buddy have a moment.
Do you think there was no cell phones?
There's not one picture.
I don't got one picture. There's no YouTube video of it. There's nothing. I've never seen anything. I've never seen nothing. The Bare Naked Ladies were filming a concert film that night. Jason Priestley from 90210, Canadian, was filming a movie. I think Bare Naked Ladies may have done a couple of songs multiple times that night when we saw them.
Yeah, I think they did wrap it around. Yeah.
There were camera booms and stuff. All right, I'm sorry. So number 5, Bare Naked Ladies. Number 4, you know what? It's fucking Me Against the World. Nickelback in at number 4. You shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Nickelback. They've sold over 50 million albums. You know what kind of rarefied air that is, that they've sold 50 million albums? You do not sell 50 million albums and suck. No. Okay?
No.
Don't hate on somebody that became successful. They're awesome. Chad's a great songwriter. He's a great singer. He writes great songs. Okay, I'm sorry that you got sick of them, and I'm sorry somebody on the internet told you they weren't cool, and you fucking went out and bought Crocs and agreed with them.
Yeah. No, see, here, I didn't get to play drums with Nickelback because I don't know how to fucking play drums. But I got this situation through the radio station where I went and they said, "Hey, dude, and I love Nickelback. Don't get me wrong, man. That dude can. And
I love them
live. Fuck off, man. They're great live.
I love them.
They are great live. I get to go into the photo pit and take pictures for the first 3 songs, right? And they go, don't get real close to the front of the stage because a fucking pyro shoots out of the fucking stage right there in the front. I'm looking up and Kroger's right in front of my face. Like, you know, I'm like, you're right there. So for 3 songs, I do that. Afterwards, when the band's done, they're fucking hanging out. Chad Kroger bartends. They get a bar set up and he's just fucking chilling. And he's the nicest dude in the world.
Their lighting,
absolutely.
All of their lighting, all of their pyro, Pantera. They shared it.
Yep.
They shared it. So it was that kind of, I mean, there was a song that came out that they found some old Dimebag Darrell solo and stuff. And Chad said if he could use it, they were pals, man. Dime loved him. Dime loved him. And they put out a song. I think it was like the
Saturday Night's All Right. No, they did was it? Yes.
No.
They did a song.
Edge of a Bullet or something like that. Something about scratching your name in the bullet. I can't remember, but they used a Dime solo in it. Nickelback's fucking great. I'm telling you, go back and listen to the first 2 albums. Killer. I'm working with Bud Light when I first get to New Orleans and I'm doing live. And I've been working with Bud Light for such a long time. They come to me and they got $10,000. They want to do a concert. They're like, who should we get? I go, there's a new band called Nickelback. They got them for 10 grand. We put them at the Howlin' Wolf.
Yes.
And people got in for free. You had to win tickets and Bud Light paid 10 grand for them. Okay. I don't know what Nickelback costs. $250,000. We got them for 10 grand. I said, okay, let's make some calls. Let's do this. And, I'm always a fan and I always defend them. I always defend them. That's my number 4. My number 3 is Rush.
Yep.
Not too drummy for me. Not too drummy at all. Although when I was really young, Rush wasn't my thing. Being a drummer, he wasn't my drumming idol. He, I'm trying to think what I emulated, more Nico from Iron Maiden, that it was a different style of drumming. Right. He was never, I never learned Rush songs, although high school talent show, we did play YYZ. Probably it was one of their easier ones. That's why I was able to do it.
Not too drummy.
So, Rush in at number 3. Number 2, Our Lady Peace.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of bleed over for Jason and I on our list, just a little out of order. Our Lady Peace is that great to me. And you're right. I've spent a lot of time with those guys and they played BuzzFest. The last time we did a BuzzFest, they played. And when the list comes out and who's going to be there, I'm at the station long enough. I'm doing the Our Lady Peace interview. Right. Now, I didn't have to beat anybody up for it. I was the only one raising my hand. But I'm talking to those guys because I've talked to them for years and years. And then when their set is up, I'm right there in front of the stage. We're doing the whole, I told you I'd be here. I'm here. Boom. Let's go. Let's fucking play it. One man army, hit it. Yep. I love them.
Yeah. They're such a great band. And again, I think part of the reason we like that band so much is like they were coming up the same time we were kind of coming up through radio. We're playing their music. And they're coming through, playing the House of Blues, playing the small venues, and we're there with them for the ride. I think that's how I became fans of a lot of different bands through the years, is just because I rode the wave with them in a way, And that's just fortunate for the jobs we have. I mean, I'm not going to say that's for everybody, but very fortunate. So who's number 1 of your top 5 Canadian bands for this 4th of July weekend?
Tragically Hip, baby.
Yeah.
Maybe my favorite band of all time. That's how much I love this band. And I won't bore you with too much, but the thing about the Tragically Hip, Jason, you've already said it, with a lot of these Canadian bands, they just didn't break in the States. And I told you I wasn't going to put Neil Young on my list. Neil Young is a huge artist in America, and he's been a huge artist forever in America. Right. And Rush was big in America. The Tragically Hip is Canada's band. They're the biggest band that didn't crack the States, and Canada wasn't mad about it. They never left Canada. They always were Canadian to the bone. The closest they maybe ever got was Saturday Night Live, 1995.
Yep.
Holy shit. They're playing to a national audience on SNL. I'm never one of these, oh, fuck Saturday Night Live. It's a great show. It's a great show. It's an institution here in America. It's great. Even in the shitty years, I still record it.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd, I believe, is from Kingston, Ontario. Yep. And he talked Lorne into booking this band, which they were hitting too with Grace too. One of their all-time great songs, maybe their greatest song. And they did it. And the weirdness was there for the world to see on Saturday Night Live. I don't know what it did because they didn't really go anywhere in the US. Canada loves that about them. Canadians take such pride in that band. Gord Downie passed away, and an untimely death. And I was broken up about it. Like you guys hear me, blubbering about Chris Cornell. I'm the same way. He's the other celebrity that hit me. Yeah. He's the only other celebrity that even comes close to Chris Cornell that hit me when he died. When he announced that he had cancer, it was late stages. And he could still sing, though. He wouldn't have done that. If he couldn't sing, he wouldn't have done it. He said, I'm going to say goodbye to Canada. They're huge. You said they're huge in Buffalo. There wasn't one fringe. Hey, can you just go? Detroit is a similar city to Buffalo. Right. They probably get all the Canadian stations, so I'm sure the hip is big there. They didn't do, it wasn't a slap to the States, but I think they did 8 shows, and I got tickets to one of them. I went to Vancouver to go see them play, and everybody's just bawling. Everybody's just crying.
They knew
it's one of the greatest. I'm sure at some point on this show, we're going to talk about, the best concerts you've ever been to. Write that down. That's a good one for future. Yeah, sure. That might be the best concert I've ever been to. I traveled to Vancouver to go see the man that wasn't going to be around in 6 months. I'm watching a man sing that's not going to be around in 6 months. We knew it. You're watching him sing, the whole place, dude, bawling. Oh,
brutal.
Tragically Hip, my favorite Canadian band of all time.
They are great. And you know what? I didn't appreciate them in the early days. But man, I tell you what, that Saturday Night Live performance, it's on YouTube, man. You look at it and you're like, what a bunch of awkward fucks. They're awkward.
Everybody else is.
Yeah, they're a band.
You think they're all awkward or just Gord?
No, Gord was. But then Gord got more into fashion a little bit later on. He's coming out there like he's teaching math. He looked like he was about to teach a math class. The way he was dressed. Yeah, he's got like a t-shirt and like, I don't know, weird, dark pants. And I'm like, the dude's
but you would always say it was like a drunk guy after work, 5 o'clock doing karaoke.
Yeah, and he was great. He danced. He was so, and yet, you know what? That's what's great about, that's when you got something special is when the guy singing doesn't give a shit.
No, he goes somewhere. He has an out-of-body experience.
He's somewhere else, man. And that's what I loved about it because, again, you see him live. I fell in love with that band, man. I liked them. I saw them live and I went, oh, that's it. That's the thing I've been missing all this time. That's why they're so great because they're just in another world. They just took you away. And he was great.
Let me ask you, just curiosity has me. What was your number 6? Who just didn't make the list? Was it Nickelback?
Yeah, it was Nickelback. I love it, but then, I don't sit around listening to Nickelback, man. I don't go, I'll go and I will listen to Tragically Hip. I will put on the Tea Party. I will put on all these other bands. I just haven't listened. And you know what? That's shame on me because it's sitting right there and I probably should put it on one day and just crank it up and piss off all the neighbors.
Ask me my number 6. Just ask me. Ask me my number 6, dude.
Hey, Rod.
Come on.
What was your number 6? Did you have a number 6?
Fucking Triumph.
Yes, I had them in there too. Yes.
I struggled.
They were so
I wanted
great.
Triumph in there so bad.
So fucking great. Triumph's a great band.
I never appreciated the Poor Man's Rush because they were also a 3-piece. The thing about Canadians, they were great musicians. They could all really, really play the shit out of their instruments. Yep. So they weren't quite as advanced as, with their instruments as maybe like Rush. Because Rush, all three of those guys, Alex Lifeson, the guitar, they were masters of masters level musicians. But Triumph was great, man. Gil Moore could sing behind the kit when the lights go down. Triumph is awesome. I struggled, and that's the one thing where I said this list was easy. My 5 and 6, I'm just like, got him. Bare Naked Ladies, College, been with them the whole way.
Right. That's the killer.
I had to give them a new band, Glorious Sons. I don't know what you're doing with these guys. They're fucking love the Glorious Sons.
Fucking great, dude. That's going to be a band. I've got all their shit. I'm dying to see them live. They are so great. The lyrics are so good. It's not just it's not singing about the same dumb shit. Their fucking music is great. They're awesome.
Kingston, Ontario, same town, and it's tiny. Kingston, Ontario, same town as the Tragically Hip.
The Glorious Sons. And then, holy shit, I can't believe I fucking forgot about this band. Monster Truck, man. I fucking love Monster Truck. Aren't they Canadian too?
Did I just fucking forget about Monster Truck? They wouldn't have been in my top 5, but I love them. They'd be okay. So 6 Triumph, 7. Can we do top 7s?
Oh, we gotta have a limit.
5s? Top 5s are dumb. I hate top 5s.
No. Monster Truck is another great band. If you like that rock sound, man, it sounds like Bachman Turner Overdrive met like fucking, I don't know, Pantera or something. And Monster Truck is great. I love that band too.
So awesome.
Glorious Sons, though, man. Glorious Sons. Nobody's on that band, man. Nobody's on it. They're having trouble getting across the border too, man. I mean, I've heard it a little bit.
Yes.
But not enough to get them over here, man. Not to break through. See? Fucking problem.
That's the newer band, because they've got a bunch of albums. That's the newer band that I like the most. And the other one, I promise I'll shut up, the Arkells. Check out the Arkells. All right. They're really, really great. Because we're talking music, and we'll take a break in a second. This will force us to be quick.
Yeah, right.
The Kiss documentary, seeing that we're in music mode right now, Kiss documentary came out over the last weekend, and it was 4 hours done on 2 nights on A&E.
Right.
And you know how much Kiss was my first favorite band, my first everything. I loved Kiss, and, I love the original stuff. And I'm like most people, I'm a hardcore fan of that original stuff. I've read the books. If I threw it out there, I've read 10 Kiss books, Kiss books, Gene, I read everything that Gene, Paul, I've read everything. I wasn't that excited going into the documentary. So I sent you a text and I said, listen, people are asking me, hey, are you guys going to talk about that Kiss doc?
Right.
And I sent it to you and you're like, man, okay, I'll go check it out. I was curious as to your thoughts. 4 hours. Did you learn anything? Was there any eye-opening things for you, or was it the same old for you?
I think it's kind of the same story that everyone knew, it was like, they started out from nowhere and they made it, and they came up with everything. They came with their makeup, they did the whole thing. And that was cool to hear them talk about that, because you always hear those same stories over and over again. I didn't really learn a lot about the band or anything. It all was, I knew that they brought on Doc McGee, the band manager, and to run the show in the later days. I knew Casablanca Records had all kinds of fucking problems with the mafia and borrowing money and all this stuff. That was a record.
I did not know that. I did not know that about Casablanca Records.
Yeah, I read some shit years ago. So, I mean, it wasn't like it was anything new or anything like that. I think what was cool in a little bit, I don't know how to say it. I read a lot of biographies, right? Of old historical dead people. I love biographies. So you take the journey, you're like, fuck yeah, Ben Franklin. Whoa, the kite, the key. This is great. George Washington, but then you get to the end of the biography and they're fucking dead. You just spent like all this time with this dude and it's going through their whole life. And then at the end of the biography, you put it down. You're like, fucking guy's dead. Yeah, he's been dead for 200 years. Did you pick up a
Ben Franklin book thinking you were going to read it and he was going to be alive?
No, but you know what? You go through their life journey. You take that life journey, and then you get to the end. You're like, you walk around for a day. I'm all bummed out. What happened? What's wrong with you?
Damn it! Abe Lincoln got shot at the Ford Theater.
Fucking Ben Franklin passed away. Ben Franklin's dead, and I'm like bumming around all day because you spend so much time in the biography. Well, fucking Disney died. My wife's like, what? He's been dead. I know, but I just read the biography. So it was a weird thing to watch this with that mentality. And I'm like watching them and they're kind of like closing this chapter up. They're like the next farewell tour after the last 10 farewell tours is going to be it. And you could see that on their faces when Gene was talking about like the end, he was kind of saying, I'm going to be a blubbering 12-year-old girl at the end when we play that last song in front of that last crowd.
Yeah.
And then Paul was kind of like, you know what? I'm excited about like going out again one more time, doing it. But then I'm going to sit back and be like, yeah, we did the thing. We did it.
Do you believe him? Motley Crue famously sat down and signed contracts and said, we're not getting back together ever, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's allowed to. Tommy and Nikki, Nikki Sixx is going to be in bands for the rest of our lives. He's going to outlive us all. He's going to be Keith Richards of our generation. And if Tommy wants to get up there and jam, but they can never call themselves anything remotely Motley Crue, they signed all this contract. We're never getting back together. And then boom, the joke about the Eagles, hell freezes over. Okay, we'll get back together when hell freezes over. You know what we should do? Let's get back together and call it the When Hell Freezes Over tour. You fucking clever wordsmith. Do you believe Kiss?
That they're going to do this last tour and call it a day?
And be it, yes.
I guess I do. It doesn't matter to me either way. I don't care. I've seen them probably 7 or 8 times over the years, and progressively over the years, I've been less impressed because it's the same show. It's a great freaking show. I've already seen it a bunch of times. I don't need to see the shtick again because they haven't changed it. So I don't know. If they do, that. It's great. If someone who's never seen Kiss gets to go see them, awesome. Because that's why I hope they continue to do it for a long time. But I think they're starting to close the book. I think they're seeing it. What's Gene, 72?
Yeah.
Paul's right in that wheelhouse somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not. I heard Paul talking, not in the documentary, even like they're all doing the rounds, talking to whatever, doing all the interviews. And he did bring up something that made me think that, okay, maybe Kiss is going to call it in. He said the physicality of being in Kiss. They don't stand there, okay? Those old men do move around, Still. Mick Jagger is still Mick Jagger. When you go see him, it's crazy. But everybody else kind of stands there. Even Keith is really just kind of standing there the last time I saw him. And, Kiss doesn't want – they're so obsessed, with giving the fans everything that they came for. You wanted the best. You got the best. And – they're obsessive about, it's all about the fans. It's all about the fans. And I kind of believed them and I know those guys have probably, they've all got replaced hips and knees and everything. And I think they're hurting and, they're still in pretty good shape. They don't look like they're in their 20s, but the makeup allows that to kind of take you back, but you can't hide the turkey skin on the neck and, you can't do that. But the physicality, I think maybe they will be done. And I mentioned it earlier on the podcast. Doc McGee, who's the longtime manager. Well, not really. Doc McGee came on when they got back together.
Yeah, the reunion tour, 96.
And he's been with them ever since. Right. And he alluded to the fact that Kiss doesn't have to go away. Kiss is bigger than any singular member. When we just talked about, does anybody give a shit that nobody from Foreigner is on stage right now? You're hearing Cold as Ice and you're hearing
Hot Blooded.
Yes. So I don't even know if they need the kids because the makeup, you're going to see the makeup and they're going to continue on with the stage show and the Tommy Thayer on guitar and Mark Singer on drums. Those guys are 20-year non-makeup makeup veterans. I mean, Eric's been in the band forever. So if they do get Gene's son, and if they do get Paul's son to replace them as Star Child and the Demon, I think there's a chance of keeping that going. Now, the room is half full. I don't see them ever being the Toyota Center, your Smoothie King Center, wherever the basketball teams play. I don't think that happens anymore, though, with replacement players, even with Tommy Thayer, who's been there, and, the drummer.
At this point, they've made their money. Those guys don't probably need it.
Right. But they're still pulling the strings, though. Gene is still pulling the strings, and Paul, they're hiring these people and we're going to allow you to rent our costumes. It would literally be a paycheck. You're a hired, you work for the company called Kiss. I think Mark Singer said it. He goes, it's not music friends, it's the music business, you know, because he was in Kiss before they got Peter Criss back in the band. And, you know, Gene had a meeting with him and said, hey, listen, man, people want to see the Catman back there. We're going to go back. I know you've been hanging out with us, but you're done.
It's business.
Listen, he loved those guys and it wasn't that cold, but I see Kiss continuing on. I really do. I thought the documentary was good.
It was good.
You know, Paul and Gene have been asked the same questions for 50 years and they kind of answer them the same way. The fans, we got to give it for the fans. It's all about the fans and the fans. Okay, Gene, the fans, give me something. Give me something else. You said when they were on the couch, they kind of seemed like they were riffing and they were letting us maybe peek at their real personalities. And I got a little of that, but not enough. I didn't get enough of it. And it should be said that, you know, Peter Criss and Ace Frehley, they were offered parts in the documentary. As with all things, they would have been hired guns. You learn about how they were paid when they got back together. Ace Frehley has spoken about it since, and he was offended at the amount of money that they were offering him. And it was a buyout, meaning you get the check. That's it. You don't think they just filmed 4 hours, do you? No. Kiss is the masters. They filmed 12 hours and they're going to put out an extended this. And then there's going to be box sets and DVDs if they still a thing, or streaming. And Ace wanted a piece of everything moving forward. If he was going to be in the documentary, they're like, you know, we don't do it like that. Here's the sum that we will give you. And Ace said, no. They couldn't use Beth. Every time they talked about Peter Criss and the biggest song from Kiss, they couldn't play it in the background. He wouldn't sign off on it. He's like a 1/3 songwriter. So you got to get everybody. Peter Criss, they talked about Beth. They used old footage, but you never heard the song. They couldn't play it in the documentary. And when Gene and Paul can't have something, that pisses them off. Apparently there's footage. Apparently there's footage that wound up on the floor of them saying that Peter won't. I would have liked a little bit more of that. There's footage on the floor. I heard an interview with the guy that made the doc, and he said there was a Gene and Paul sitting on the couch talking, and well, there you go. Looks like we can't use Beth. We just got word. Peter said no, blah, blah, blah. I would have liked to have seen some of that stuff. And Kiss just does not fucking let you behind the curtain. They are the most image conscious band of all time. I want to see some vulnerability, man. I want to see somebody. I was surprised they showed the Tom Snyder interview because they're still pissed 40 years later. They're still mad that Ace Frehley was wasted and took over that interview on Tom Snyder's show. They're still mad.
They were so pissed in the interview. Every time he made some stupid joke, they're just fucking seething under that makeup too, man. They were just pissed off. I think what's cool about that, and that's why I love these documentaries, is, you know, every band always talks about that magic, that chemistry. When the four of those guys finally got together, they're like, there's the magic, there's the chemistry, right? The whole thing, Paul's going on and on about it, man. Oh my God, it was so great. We just fit. We were family. We're all this, we're all that. And then, you know, Ace and Peter, they fuck up because they're fuck ups. And then they get thrown out of the band, and then they get back and they're all like happy again. They're reunited. They're like, it was like the family was back. That chemistry was back. It was all back. And then for, 10, 12, 15 shows, it was great. And then, like Peter said, he goes, Paul Stanley said, he goes, yeah, and then the fucking problems came back because you don't realize that whatever the problem was before probably hasn't changed. These guys haven't changed. They haven't grown. They haven't progressed. It just fell apart, and then it got miserable again. But we did it for the fans, man. We kept the band together for the fans.
It really, they did the best they could. They talked in terms of weight, and they felt like what they put out as this documentary, they felt like the time that Ace and Peter were in the band, they felt like, okay, we were worried about the weight, meaning what you're seeing on the screen when you're watching the doc. Right. And there's millions of interviews out there that they were able to get after, but I would have loved to seen Ace and Peter to really, everybody would have loved to seen Ace and Peter on there talking and telling their story. I think they know that they fucked up, but I just think that they would tell things that Gene and Paul would, and it would wind up on the editing floor anyway. You know,
Right,
they're so protective of the company.
And you know that Ace knows he's a drunk. He knows it. Peter knows
Not
he's
anymore.
a fucked up.
It needs to be said, man. Ace Frehley, I think 15 years, maybe clean and sober. I mean,
Right.
he's still a character. And he's still, you know, you're that same guy. But yeah, he's not drinking or drugging for a long,
Right.
long time. And that's great that he's been cleaned up. And Peter's a cancer survivor, I think, a couple times.
Correct. What's interesting about this, and you know this from dealing with bands for all these years in radio, Rod, is that, you know, when they're on stage, that is why they're together. That is what they do. That is when the magic is happening. When you're on stage, you're being that band, you're rocking out, right? Here's the problem. You got 22 and a half hours of that day to fill. You're on buses, you're eating together, you're living together. Can you imagine? Can you imagine four dudes who, you know, just four dudes who don't know anything. They're just scrapping it together, making it up as they go along, like any band does. And then, you know, one guy's fucking doing heroin and doing blow and he's all messed up. And then another guy's crazy. And yeah, you're like Gene always says, you're married together, man. You're married. You're married. Every band member is married to each other. Shit doesn't always last.
The worst. We're doing the fucking worst
I got no voice left.
impersonations of all time. The fans. Well, what it comes down to is the fans. Thanks, Gene.
Paul, come here and rub my belly. Paul,
do
what I tell you, Paul.
It was the fact that it was on A&E. My final thoughts on that is the fact that it was on A&E. I knew that they were going to have to kind of mansplain some Kiss stuff. Sure. And somebody that's like super, super geeky about the band when I was a kid and knows all this stuff. I can't expect them to just give me all this great new stuff. You're going to have to, A&E, they got to sign off on this. It's like, whoa. You got to, okay. Not everybody knows that, you know, rock and roll all night and party every day. Not everybody knows that, you know, it didn't sell on this album and it took the live one for it to become a radio hit. You're going to have to tell those stories. And I kind of understood that. I thought it was good. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. Nor was I expecting it to be great.
But what's it go back to, right? We've talked about this on our first couple of episodes. We talked about if you're going to succeed in anything in life, dude. And I know I hate to sound like somebody's dad, but I'm somebody's dad. You got to put in the work, man. The beginning part I thought was cool when they went to Electric Lady Studios, Jimi Hendrix's studios that he had built in New York. And they were telling stories. That was cool. I want to see more of that kind of shit. The two of them just chilling, talking to each other, you know, and talking about like, yeah, man, you know, Gene's my guy. Paul's my guy. Sometimes it's been rough. Yeah, sometimes it's been rough. I mean, that whole bickering husband and wife thing, I want to see more of that shit. But when they were talking about the fact that they didn't have any money to do demos, so they would go in and sing backup vocals on a lot of different artists. And instead of getting paid, they said, give us studio time. And then they just kept working. Those guys are some of the hardest working motherfuckers on the planet. Lucky's Pub West. Dude, when you're going to go out and party in Houston, if you want to party balls or just chill with an ice cold beer at a fair price, you're going to want to go to Lucky's Pub West, I-10 and Barker Cypress. The Astros, baseball, 40 TVs. 40 TVs. You sit in the place, you get your beers, and you're going to have a good look at the game. Delicious food. They got the best pizza on the best side. The wings are absolutely killer. Burgers are delicious, and they've got those famous Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. Lucky's Pub West, I-10 at Barker Cypress. Check luckyspub.com for details or hit the links on the Play Pants podcast page and YouTube page. I've gotten a few direct messages, Rod, that because I opened my dumb yap and said, I got to come into Houston, dude. We should do the podcast from Lucky's. I got more and more people hammering me, dude, you got to come to Houston. You got to do the podcast from Lucky's.
I'm getting a few of those now.
I'm like, oh shit, I got to not open my dumb mouth so often, but that's what I get paid to do sometimes. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm looking at concerts.
Are you getting paid for this?
So anyway, Rod, let's, what's the next subject? Moving on.
You son of a bitch.
Moving on. Lucky's Pub West, I-10 at Barker Cypress. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna have to figure out when to get the hell over there, man. It's got to be. I want to do it semi soon, sometime this summer. We got to figure out when you got a show that I can come check out, so I can kind of see Houston again. I haven't been over it in years.
Well, you were talking. Yeah, it's been a long time, and you were talking about maybe doing like some little bonus stuff. So, I'm going to try to get there for Red Dress and obviously Jazz Fest. So there's going to be some opportunities when I come in there.
Yes.
Quickly, before we wrap up, Tuesday of this week was National Camera Day, and obviously we are of a certain age and we know what it used to be like without having a camera phone on you at all times. Our kids will not know that world at all. And I do think about Tommy Lee, where he got in trouble for whatever. He's gotten in trouble for so much, but he punched some guy and he said, fucking camera phones, man. And he really said it. He said, man, I used to be able to go. And he goes, I've been recognized since I was a kid.
Right.
But these camera phones, they were shooting him coming out of his mom's funeral or whatever. And he just snapped and had enough, and there's a million of these, Alec Baldwin and Sean Penn, and it's been going on forever. But the camera phone is really it's changed the game with photographs. I do think that it makes those old photographs that we have, that you probably have in a shoebox that maybe your mom and dad, gave to you and Todd. I have some of that stuff. There's still a bunch at my mom's house. Those are so special now. They've already been processed and printed. They look different. They've naturally matured. They don't need a filter on them. They just are fucking old. That's the filter. Yeah. The filter is 1973. That's the filter. Okay. There was no filter. It's just the year that photograph was taken. There's so many, so Julia's 21, 22.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Word.
So we had to take pictures of her. We didn't have a camera phone.
The old
so
school
you don't
cameras.
have every step she ever took. Henry, on the other hand, you've got every step, every first crawl, every first poopy, every first sitting up in the high chair. You have everything. It's different. It's just different.
It's easier now. It's so much easier, dude. You got your phone. You're like taking pictures. Think about it. How cool would it have been for me, your good BFF, when you're playing drums with Fred from Cowboy Mouth in front of the hometown crowd, in front of 17,000 fans, for me to walk up there and take some pictures of it. Not one picture exists.
Do you remember? Hang on a second. How fucking insane they were about not bringing cameras into shows when we were young?
Yeah, you couldn't have a camera on you.
Everybody is snapping and recording. Guys, if you're not old like us, back when you had to smuggle a camera in with your ball bag, or you had to get a chick to jam one in her titties. And man, if they saw a flash, bands would stop shows. There's a camera in here. Where's there not a camera now at a show? What a huge difference. That's why Jason didn't take a picture of me when I'm up on stage with Cowboy Mouth opening up for Bare Naked Ladies at the arena in Buffalo. You couldn't bring a camera in. Nobody allowed that.
And everybody had those shitty cameras. Even if you took a picture, it was fucking 100 miles away. It didn't have the clarity. It looked terrible. Like, I look at old vacation photos from back when I was a kid, and it's like, there's me in front of fucking Thunder Mountain Railroad with my brother and my dad. And all you see is these three little dots in my Bills jacket. And then there's a fucking mountain. I'm like, man, why didn't you stand a little closer to the goddamn kids when you took that picture? You know what I mean? Like, all the pictures sucked because nobody knew how to take pictures back then. And you had that one shot. You didn't see it for another 6 months if you didn't go to the crazy photo mat in the parking lot at the grocery store to get it developed. You had that one. You had to hope to Christ you got that picture right, because there's no looking at it going, oh, I fucked up. Hold on, let me get you one more on your phone. Today, it's easy.
So when you brought this up and you said, hey, maybe there's something here with this camera day. And the first thing that popped into my mind, and I was thinking of you and I getting down to New Orleans and Mardi Gras. I always did. I did. I say later in life, I guess when I moved to New Orleans, I started taking a lot of pictures, but it was film. Not a nice camera. I'm not walking around with a big fucking bazooka lens and all of that, but I had a camera, and I would take pictures. Mardi Gras. I do have a lot of that stuff. I do. I got a fair amount of it, and I'm glad I did take the time to take the pictures. But Mardi Gras specifically, there's titties everywhere. Okay. Yeah. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. There's titties everywhere.
Everywhere.
when you took pictures back in the day, you had to have a guy.
Oh, yeah.
You had to have a guy. Dude, this is the first thing I thought of. And, God rest his soul, our dear friend Brian Stager. If you needed a guy for anything, he would get you the guy. He was Red in Shawshank Redemption. Brian Stager could get you anything. So if you had a bunch of titty pictures, and that's all you did, you walked around and you took pictures. There was girls flashing, blah, blah, blah. We get down to Mardi Gras. This is great. Oh, my God. And just taking pictures. Sounds a little creepy now. That's what everybody did.
It's a lot creepy.
So you could not just go to Walgreens and drop that off. I don't know what they would have done. I'm sure the guy would have just made copies for himself and checked this guy out. But Brian Stager, I got a guy. I got a guy. And he probably worked at a drugstore, but Brian knew him. And Brian would say, you want to make a couple copies for yourself? Fine. Well, why don't it creep? All of this is creepy.
Weirdos.
But you just couldn't drop off a roll of film that was nothing but Mardi Gras titties. Even in New Orleans, it was a little weird dropping that off somewhere at CVS. You had to have a guy. And I had a guy.
Comes out on the machine. It's sitting there. The guy, there could be some old lady doing the photo mat that day.
Correct.
She's like,
correct.
Fuck.
Uh-huh. Even in New Orleans, where they're kind of used to it, they're a little desensitized to it. You still didn't want to just go dropping that off. It was even creepy while we were doing it. But the Mardi Gras pictures, it immediately flooded to my mind. And now you're not reliant on somebody to develop your film because it's right there on your camera. And now you're whizzing them around everybody. And you guys are taking pictures of your junk and everything else. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. But you know what we used to do too, right?
People are just as creepy. I mean, I'm talking about it, but people are just as creepy. I think they're creepier.
Way creepier now. Way creepier. You had to go through a lot of different steps before. We used to, anytime you had a party, someone would a chick would bring a camera, be in her purse. Somehow she took a couple pictures. She sat on the counter. What's the first thing you'd always do? You take that camera, take a picture of your dick.
Yes.
Right down the back of your pants. You're going to get the brown. Here, have a picture of this. And then you set the camera back. Everyone did that to every fucking camera you ever saw. And we're animals, obviously, for doing that. And that is creepy. But then what happens. You go get that shit developed. And that chick's going through, oh, there's me, my friend. Oh, there's me getting a drink. There's me. What the fuck is this? And that was always the funniest thing ever. Now, you never got to see the joke, but it was the best. But then I know when I'd go get shit developed, I'm like, oh, there we are doing this. There we are doing that. And there's somebody's fucking fuzzy mound. Great. We'll throw that one in the garbage. You know what I mean? Like you always had those pictures. There's always those. Oh, there's somebody's ball bag. Okay, we'll throw that one out. So that was always the challenge with those cameras. But that was made it fun. But you brought this up too, and I did this for my wedding because I think you gave me the idea. When I got married, I said to my wife, I said, hey, what if we take, and back then it was always, remember those disposable cameras? That's what everybody was using for a while. Yeah, I took decent pictures and it was easy. It's cheap and easy to take it and boom, here you go.
You would literally take the whole camera in here and they would develop your film and then chuck the camera. The camera was disposable.
It was cardboard and plastic. It was great, So I said, why don't we take and put a camera and with a little note explaining the fucking camera on every table around the wedding reception, right? Then everyone's going to take a bunch of pictures. When we had a photographer, but then we get all these cool pictures, candid. I thought maybe people would get creative with it and like give people a chance to fucking have fun with it. I still got half of them I haven't developed 17 years later.
Come on, dude, for real?
Yeah. Well, because you know why? It got expensive because I had so many fucking cameras all over the place. Plus, nobody knows how to fucking take a picture. Dude, the pictures I got were fucking half of a finger, half of a hand. Yeah, I might have gotten like...
And you got paid to get that developed. Those shitty pictures, whether it's a good picture or it's a shitty picture, whatever was taken, you're paying for those 24 pictures.
I was getting 2 per roll, maybe. So they're in my... you know what I'll do? I'm going to have to go get those done because I'm just curious to see if that works. And B, maybe there's some gold on there somewhere that I haven't seen yet, but I doubt it. But people can't take fucking pictures back then, man.
I mean, I know I took a picture of my little rod, so that's just going to waste up in your attic right now. I'm positive I took a picture of my dick at your wedding. I'm just saying that I'm positive.
And I get in trouble for too dummy. Now, you know what's funny is I'm glad that I haven't
wasn't the
developed
only
them all.
one. And I wasn't the only one. Okay?
Dude,
That's it. Let's flush a few things out here.
Why do we got to? I'm a newlywed at the time, and you're gonna have my wife, my loving,
In the
sweet
still of the
wife.
night, whipping out the white snake.
And then
Yeah.
can you imagine if I got them all developed and we just sat there going through the piles together, like newlywed does?
No. You get that developed. You go through it. You pick them up. Hey, honey, I was just going to stop by. You want me to pick up the? No. I've got to preview all of that before wifey sees that.
Dude, the guy who married us was walking around. There's kids walking around. It was a family event, very special day to me. And you got your cock out, taking pictures of it with a fucking, Jesus Christ.
I did not act alone. Okay. I did not act alone on that.
I will get to the bottom of this. I will find out.
But, and I know, we have some photography friends and my wife's a photographer.
Right.
And people ask her all the time, like, what do you use? She uses her fucking phone, man. I mean, sorry, cat's out of the bag, but she doesn't lie about it. She's pretty open about it. She's getting to the point now where she's sold stuff. She's got pictures in a gallery here in Houston. And cool. And she's selling this stuff and she doesn't lie. She's like, I'm not a photographer I always call it the bazooka lens and, but she's got the eye and the glass in these that they're using for these camera phones, the cameras on the phones, it's great. It's unbelievable what she's able to do on these with the phone. And it's Android. It's amazing. At April Ryan Photography. There you go. I'll plug my wife.
Jesus Christ. You're sitting
Check
here.
the tape. Plugging my wife's Instagram.
That's nice. You should, because her stuff it's amazing. And I've always like, how the fuck is she taking these pictures? But it's just on the phone. Huh? That's cool. She's great. It's grueling. Good stuff.
Do you have a favorite New Orleans photographer? Because I do.
There's
a lot of them.
There's this guy,
on the spot.
Frank Rell.
That's my guy.
RELLE. He does.
That's my guy.
He spends hours going out in the middle of the night and gets these beautiful. It's right on Royal Street. The gallery's on Royal Street. It's wonderful.
He goes out to the swamp.
The swamps, and he's sitting out there with the fucking snakes, leaning on gators and shit, and he lights it all up at night. So you get this beautiful background. He's got it all strategically lit and shadows. I mean, this dude fucking works for these pictures, and they'll blow you away. They'll blow your mind. How great.
Guys, everybody, here's a recommendation. Frank, RELLE. You're right. He's got a gallery. So his stuff is just like no one else. And he's a real, after I get done talking about my wife, he uses a real camera. I wasn't going to call him. He's a real photographer. He uses a real camera. But you said it. He's out there in the swamps. So he's on a flatboat, right? He goes around and he backlights these cypress trees, and you got the Spanish moss, and maybe there's like this old rickety shack. He's a master at lighting. He's got to take somebody with him to help. Then he's got to back off. Then he has to sit and wait. There are no ripples in the water, so that when he takes it, the weather's got to be perfect. It looks like glass.
Yep.
That's nothing but time. That's not a Photoshop thing. That's just waiting it out. There you are. You're making a ripple. You're making waves in the swamp by doing all of this work. But what the outcome is it's magical what this guy does. Then you see it blown up in that gallery on Royal Street. Holy shit.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, give me, is it $2,000 for something big? Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 5? I don't know. And I'm not trying to undercut him. I don't know. I mean, whatever he's charging, it's worth it. They're beautiful. I just don't know what they cost.
I don't know. I haven't been in a while. I walk by it all the time.
I want to know, find out, because my wife wants one. Oof. So let me, try to squash that if it's, upwards of $4,000 and $5,000 for a photo.
You know what you could do, Rod, is you could take a picture of little Ween and maybe send that to her. And that's art, right? Because it was art for me in my wedding. It must be good enough for a gift for the wife. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, maybe I should quit this podcast. That's what we should do.
Oh, now you're quitting.
I might quit today. I might quit. I can't believe I got a bag full of cameras. I got to find that fucking bag. I don't know where it is. I got to find it. And I'm going to go spend my hard-earned cash, and I'm going to get that developed. And if your little wieners in there, right here, buddy, next week on the podcast, I I will put it up on the fucking camera.
Don't think you think for a second that I've told you how many pictures I have here. You don't think I've got stuff of you that you would not want shown on the camera here.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Stand down.
You're right.
Stand down.
I'm going to stick with my two drummy. I'm going to make that my worst thing I said today. I'm going to go with that.
Are we ready for final thoughts?
Yeah, you go first because I'm going to finish with a good one. I got a good one. Not to say yours is bad. I'm not trying to cheapen it. I know you're go ahead.
We talked a lot about Kiss already.
Oh my God.
We did, but
Jesus.
This is going to be for the YouTube audience. Pow!
Whoa. What's this?
This is Kiss Love Gun, and it came out 44 years ago today. As we're recording this podcast on June 30th, this was the first Kiss album that I owned.
Really?
Not one just like this, Jason. You know me. It was this album. Now,
dude, the fucking plastic's still on it.
No, that's a sleeve.
Oh, I was like, holy Jesus, you are a fucking serial killer.
Kiss Love Gun came out on this day 44 years ago. It shipped double platinum.
Wow.
You were talking about, I'm pulling the album out now for not everybody watches our YouTube.
They should, because this is a lot of fun to watch this shit.
So I'm going to hold this up to the camera. Casablanca.
Yep.
That's how you know this is an original. If it's reissued, I don't think this label doesn't exist anymore. So somebody must have the rights to it. But Casablanca is the record label, and it's got that old original Casablanca
logo.
The logo and everything on it. And I'll finish with this. This was a very important album to me. It in a way, it should be my favorite Kiss album because it was my first, but boy, Alive 2 changed my life.
Right.
And it came out the same year. But when you bought Kiss albums when you were a little kid, and this is where it gets kind of nerdy, they always had something in the album. Think of the treat at the bottom of the box of cereal, or I think Cracker Jack probably started it, right? With the little toy inside.
The gum and the baseball cards, yeah.
Thank you. So Kiss did something similar. Every album came with something, but you didn't know what it was unless your buddy, spoiler alert. So 44 years ago, spoiler alert, it came with a love gun.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. So it's still in the album. Okay. It's still in the album. Now you can tell I used it because I had to put some tape on it, but it's for those of you that are not watching, it's just a paper cardboard gun.
But it's cool.
And it was a popper. You would go bam.
Oh, it would snap.
And it would snap and the word bang would come out. This is the actual Kiss Love Gun that came. This was your treat. This was your toy that you got with this particular Kiss album. They all came with something.
Brilliant.
And
that's
and
so
I always
cool.
thought this was one of the cooler ones. And when I went to the album, I knew it would be in there just because I know what a nerd I am. When I went to go digging through my albums today, I said, please, man, let the Love Gun be in there. And yeah, there it is. Not quite, not in mint condition, but still could, fetch $5 or $10 at a Kiss convention, probably.
It's 44 years old, dude. And you know what's great about that is that cardboard insert that goes into the album is for a song that Paul Stanley wrote about his dick, Love Gun.
Everything, this show's about dicks today.
He wrote it about his cock. He was on a plane and headed to Japan and he had the melody and he's like, I'm going to write a song about my fucking dick. And he did. It's called Love Gun. And it's a great song. I love that song, but it's a Paul Stanley wiener. A lot of wiener talk today.
So I'm 7 years old, right? I get this album and titties.
Right there. Oh yeah. But they're not
titties.
Exposed, but they are voluptuous.
Yeah, there's hot girls. So I also got a puzzle of this album cover and I'm putting together the puzzle and the puzzle piece. Don't think I wasn't like a little 7-year-old giggling, putting together these puzzle pieces and putting this, look, as I'm rubbing her titties right now on the album. So titties. There was a puzzle piece and I remember the piece was perfectly her cleavage right there.
They were going to split that in two different pieces, right? You knew that wasn't going to happen. The guy who designed the puzzle.
a little bit of music history for you, and thank you for adding the Love Gun penis story. Great. What do you have? Final thoughts, please.
Dude, it's the 4th of July, buddy. Get closer. I got something to show you.
Wait, more Canada talk? If you whip out short shorts, no. I quit.
Dude, 4th of July, motherfucker. Check it out.
I quit.
You gotta watch the video. I've been sitting there for fucking 2 hours. These shorts are uncomfortable. I'm wearing short motherfucking 4th of July shorts today.
Dude, your pud's hanging out. I'm sure of it right now.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it's not. My pud's pretty small. I got a small little guy. Dude, from the back, from the side, it is delight. Look at that. Holy fuck. Look at that slit, bro. What?
Dude.
Happy 4th of July.
That's
a long way to go. I know.
That's hashtag too putty for me. Okay.
I'm going to need some garage beers after this.
Calling back to the too drummy, too putty for me.
The fuck did we talk about today?
How many of those shorts do you have, dude?
All of them.
2.
One for
two.
every.
Too many.
So next week on the podcast, I'm going to be in Florida. Okay. So I'm going to take my shit on the road and I'm going to be from the beach. You don't think I have already pre-warned my entire family that these shorts will be happening on the beach?
Those are short, bro. They're too short. I love you. I've known you a long time. They're a little short, bro. You've
no, shorts are back for the men. Shorts. We talked about this.
You've not advanced. You have taken steps backwards.
I've regressed.
Yes.
Is it something that like you just don't care after a while? Like, why do older dudes, when you see them, they got their fucking pants hiked up around their tits and their belts on? Like, when does that come in? When do we get to that age, right? Like, because I don't want that to happen. You know, just because I'm almost 50 doesn't mean I need to act fucking 50. You know what I mean? Like, I remember my dad at 50, and man, he wasn't walking around with all American shorts on, like the American flag, short shorts. I promise you, he wasn't.
If they did, they were longer.
Yeah.
Even in the 70s, they were longer. Those are shorter than 70s, like those little NBA nut smugglers. Those are shorter than that.
The old ABA and the old NBA, they were tight. Fucking Magic out there. Dude, Larry Bird.
Those are jorts jams compared to what you're wearing. Okay.
Jackie Moon, baby.
Sit down.
Look at this.
I'm not looking at it. I'm not looking at it.
You looked.
I'm wishing that microphone punched you in the dick when you were standing.
It didn't. It won't disrespect the shorts.
Is this episode 14? Yes. Is it 14?
There's nobody listening. It's just us talking to each other.
Back to quitting the podcast again. So I feel like I'm back.
You quit twice today. I think I quit once. I think we're good today. I think we did a good one. I think it was fine. Well, thanks for listening. You can check us out at Play Pants Pod on all our social media. I'm going to hike up my shorts a little higher now.
Thank you, guys. Peace.
Let's go. It's time. Put on Play Pants. Find us wherever you listen to podcasts. See us on our YouTube channel and follow our social media pages at Play Pants Pod.